is we decided to shift things a little bit. Instead of a break right now, I think we'll go into we plan on doing a reflection and discussion. And then we'll be able to break a little bit earlier for lunch. So with that in mind, I believe we have decided to, we decided we're going to just remain with the entire group, or are we going to break out into the breakout rooms?
We can have breakout rooms if this is the number that we have, and then also Joel is here. I just wanted to welcome him.
I would like, I would be happy to. Joel, thank you for joining us. You come to us from the Humphrey School, and you've been kind enough to volunteer to help with this reflection and discussion as well. And the rest of us from the DCOP assessment committee will be able to assist as well, as far as going in and out of the various breakout rooms to kind of see what's going on, facilitate any discussion or answer any questions. So with that, Joel, you are signed in here, right? My view does not.
I'm here.
Okay, great. Thanks again for joining. Much appreciated. I did just change my view and I see you now, so thanks. So I guess we're going to go into the breakout rooms, and then there are some questions that I'll be able to view.
Yeah, and there is a document that's in the program, and I hope I have the right link here. Yes, these are the slides in which the groups can take notes. So John will put us into groups, and then we can reflect. And there are 3 questions. Let's see. What is one takeaway from the Phelps presentation? And it doesn't have to be one, there can be others. And then what is one takeaway from the last presentation, and how do these topics intersect with each other? You can also broaden it to whatever, other things that come up. And then once we come back, maybe Joel, you can help us facilitate. Thank you so much. Thank you all, welcome back.
And take a look at the document.
Would you like someone to start, Parajita?
Well, Joel, I'm going to leave it to Joel.
Oh, good. Thanks. Hi, Joel.
Thank you.
Hi, Patricia. Hi, Ben. Hi, everyone. Thank you for spending time with us for the remaining part of this morning. And I just wanted us to come back together and have some real frank conversations around, what we heard this morning, some of the key takeaways from the presentations. How did you, see those two intersect with each other? And just some things that you all may have shared in your individual breakout rooms that you are comfortable with sharing with us at a larger capacity. So does anyone, we've lost a lot of people at this point, but does anyone who stayed to have these breakout conversations comfortable with sharing something that you felt that we need to or should be concerned with, or things that you want to share from your group?
I can go first because my frustration is still there. I'm very frustrated, and I'll just be really honest. The verdict was long time coming, long overdue. So that does give hope, but my fear now is that it will also give a pass for institutions and groups to say, see, there is progress, just be patient, there's progress. And that to me just, I could scream. The other thing I shared with the group is that, as a person of color, Mexican American, first generation, this data just confirms my life. It's telling the story of every person of color here. And I shared this analogy with everybody. It's like there's a meeting and you get this report. And let's suppose it's a budget report. And they've done a survey of the budget and they have found that there's some deficit in the budget. And it's in Dan's department and in Edgar's department and in Clement's department. And they go, wow, did you see these numbers? What's going on here? Dan, what's the deal? Clement, do you want to talk about this? Or what is it that you're doing? What's your plan, Clement? And you know, and it's just like, but yet we get these type of reports. We get these reports that affect people's lives and outcome and productivity and contribution for a member of society. And we go, wow, yeah, thank you. This is very valuable. This is valuable data. Let's share it with folks. Shall we share it? Can someone tell me who we should share it with? And that's my level of frustration. And I'm sorry, because I know I'm taking up too much time, but I could just scream at the data sometimes because it's like, it makes people feel good. We've got the data, but where does data translate into action? And it comes with accountability. Dan, you would be probably fired. Clement, sorry, afuera. Adios, Clement. You know, so this is, and Edgar, maybe we'll work with you a little. But you see that's what we need. We need leaders to get these reports and say, this is done. This is the last report of its kind. There will be no more financial deficits in this institution, period. So I will stop.
Thank you, Patricia.
I don't think it surprise anybody to know that I immediately started talking in my group and tried to make sure that we answered all the items on the prompt, because it is my want, my personality, and my my burden as the very chatty white guy. We had a couple of reactions about the Phelps presentation. We really appreciated it and wanted to acknowledge her answer to, I think it was Amethyst's question regarding how to make the University of Minnesota more accessible and a more desirable location for students of color. And we just appreciated that she both addressed that question and addressed it very aptly at the end of the presentation. We had, in our group, we had good participation and we had folks from different places who had different experiences. So we've got someone working on the Crookston campus. And so living in a rural environment where over-policing happens, but it happens differently. And we had a participant whose experience was living on a reservation where over-policing was represented in and came up in ways that's different from the sort of the Minneapolis context. So we really just started thinking through that these differences in location and these differences of, you know, where our campuses are and things like that give us all opportunities to think about what's the local inflection of over-policing, because the George Floyd case was a national and international issue, and policing is also the most intimately local of issues. You know, that it's guided, you know, the overlapping jurisdictions mean that we're each affected by these agencies of policing and surveillance in different kinds of ways. So that's something that we are sort of interested in thinking about and talking about. One question that came up, and it was my question, is as members of the University of Minnesota community, what do we want to do with UMPD? So is it the case that the moral act would be to abolish UMPD and say that as a public university, we don't want to be involved in policing if it means that we're held to use of force agreements that means we have to corral protesters? You know, do we want to get rid of that, or do we want to encourage the UMPD to be the most progressive and community responsive public safety office in the universe, and let them be kind of ask them to be the moral standard by which all other policing agencies are measured? And both of those might be just outcomes, but it's one of the things, you know, as Patricia said, I'm on the hook, right? You know, we're all on the hook and we're all implicated in the fact that we participated in an institution that participates in policing. So that's going to be a big thing for me to continue thinking about. In the Lust presentation, and I want to give attention to that one too, one of the challenges was that this was point in time data. So it's, this is what students were experiencing now. And it could be valuable to compare that to previous points in time to see if the differences are related to the pandemic versus differences related or typical of demographic difference. So if, was there a particular difference in COVID response among students who were women? Amy was in our group, and the question that she asked still rings out is, the COVID experience changes hour to hour and day to day. So this point in time data, there's a snapshotty challenge. But just as Patricia said, I think one of the big questions that we're interested in is how do we move from data to accountable policy? What are the things that we do and put an institutional stamp on that demonstrate that we're holding ourselves accountable for what we know?
I want to say something in relation to what Patricia and Dan said. And I am very emotional, so my story will be less data, more emotional. I'll try to be short in my comment, but I think people working in comedy interpret very well what happens in the community, and they make these clear examples of what happens. So I feel that since George Floyd died, I have attended so many webinars, so many presentations, so many on how our communities are suffering and how we have done research on the feeling of Black Americans, like how policing, all kinds of reports. We cannot have any more reports on things. And as Patricia, we continue seeing like, oh, this is horrible. And everyone says it's horrible. So if you haven't seen it and you have the chance to see, it was a skit SNL did, Saturday Night Live. And it's this white guy who's told about something that happens that is horrible. And he says on camera, oh, this is horrible. And so the person on the TV or doing the report says, can you be one day a person of color or one day? And he's like, well, I really care for that, but one day is too much. And then he goes down until he gets like an hour. And he's like, maybe I can be a person of color or a person with these difficulties for an hour. So that's how I feel. I feel that we do these reports and we listen and everybody, oh, this is horrible. How come this is happening in our society? But when we say, what are we going to do? What are you willing to do? Then we begin like the guy in the Saturday Night Live skit, like, well, we cannot go that far. We cannot do this much. I cannot do this. So when are we going to stop, continue only doing reports only? And when the majority is going to help the others and is going to say, okay, one day in your body, in your shoes will be enough or will be part of what I need. And not even 1 hour is too much. You have to deal with your stuff and I will cheer you up, but I will do nothing to help you.
I think those are great. That's a great point, Clement. And kind of all the data we have and what are we doing with the data? How does that inform our actions and what we are going to do to change things? And I hope I hope this morning's session was kind of a catalyst for that discussion. I know we're running up on the end of time here, and I say this every time I facilitate one of these. We could talk about this for hours. So if if anything further comes up, any questions, any thoughts, ideas, share them with any one of us, because this may help inform our next DDD, which would be DDDD8 this fall. Yeah, so this does not have to be the end of this discussion. Unfortunately, we're at time here. So Virajita, did you have something you wanted to say?
Yeah, I just wanted to say for those of you who are in the diversity community of practice, tomorrow's conversation will be also about this topic, because we are debriefing and we didn't know that the verdict would be in. So we had already created that space also, to acknowledge and process Dante Wright's killing. And what's going to happen actually is interesting that MSA, the Minnesota Student Association, was scheduled to speak already, but we were going to move that, and they asked to speak anyway and connect with us and talk about policing and their views on it. So I think it's a really wonderful opportunity for us, building on what Dr. Phelps was saying, because there's so many voices in this conversation. So those of you who are already in the diversity community of practice, you'll get an agenda. And so please come to that. And those who aren't, feel free to send me an email. I'll forward you the invite, and then, you can sort of join. So we'll have a lot more time tomorrow as well to talk. And this is 2:30 to 4 tomorrow.
Yeah. Thanks,
Thank you, John.
Rajda, for that reminder. Joel, thank you for being willing to help facilitate and moderate. Appreciate your participation. We're going to kick back off here at 1 o'clock, and I see that one of our first presentation, Amy, she will be participating in that one. So looking forward to that very much. All of you have a wonderful lunch, and please join us again at 1 if you can.
Thank you so much for joining us.